My name is Sharon Socol, and I've been a member of the Miami community for over 50 years now. During this time, I've had amazing experiences with different organizations, but one of the ones that sticks out the most is the Women's Fund. I think the Women's Fund is truly important because it found the niche for helping women and girls throughout our community in areas that were not being addressed, they were overlooked, or they were just complicated issues. My first experience with the Women's Fund was as a founder of Casa Valentina. Casa Valentina was established somewhere around 2004, 2005. The idea actually started in 2004. And the purpose of Casa Valentina was to provide safe, affordable housing for girls leaving foster care. In Miami or in Florida, foster care ends at age 18. And many of us all know that girls at that age are not always equipped, they're very vulnerable, and they just don't have the ability without structure to go on with their lives and make them healthy, safe, and secure. So several of us got together and we came up with this idea. And while it was a wonderful idea, we needed structure. We also knew that nobody was going to deter us. However, we were so lucky at that time because the Women's Fund by then had existed. And we were able to contact them and spend hours. I can remember being in a very cramped room. Claudia Kinchin was responsible for the Women's Fund. And we sat there many, many hours crafting the bylaws. And the Women's Fund actually became what you know is the sponsor for Casa Valentina, because until a certain time and you get your 501(c), you can't just go and operate. So I know as a founder of Casa Valentina that the Women's Fund was extremely important. Casa Valentina is in existence today. We have not just one group home, but more than one group home. And we not only help girls, but we help boys. So this little dream that started from a small meeting at my home in 2004 is now a worthwhile, active, contributing organization in this community making a difference. The word difference, that's what I want to say. The Women's Fund makes a difference. So whether it's my group or another group, the Women's Fund is there to help them get off the ground, and once off the ground, to keep on going and growing until they're able to stand on their own 2 feet. Not unlike all of us who have children, we give them what they need until they can go out on their own. So later on, as the Women's Fund was evolving, I was really grateful to be asked, honored to be asked to be one of the people who started to help the endowment fund. And so I was an early endower of the Women's Fund, knowing that this group needed to be around forever in this community to continue to make a difference, because it finds that little group that sees something in their community that needs to be addressed, and they don't have the funds or they don't have the structure, and they sit there and guide them like a big sister. And that's what is so important to me about the Women's Fund. As far as the future is concerned, I think the Women's Fund deserves recognition, support, interest, constantly and consistently, so that it can never falter from the mission that it has set before itself. I guess my hope for the Women's Fund is that it is always an important institution, entity, contributing member to our community. I think there are so many organizations specifically designed to help women that the Women's Fund can give them, as I said earlier, that little push up off the ground before they get their wings and fly. It's truly important that the Women's Fund stays in this community, stays healthy, stays contributing. And I hope that more people will take the time to learn about the Women's Fund, because there's really a smorgasbord of where they can put their money in order to help not just one institution, but many institutions across across this county and this community. And it's really making the world a better place. And I think that's what the Women's Fund represents. It also represents the strength of what women contribute to the world. Women really make the world go round, in my opinion. We have a heart, we have a soul, we're hard workers, and we support one another. That's what the Women's Fund does, and it does it collectively. So I'm really honored to have been an early participant in the Women's Fund. I'm really honored to know that after all these years, it still has a foothold. It may have had a foothold in the sand, but that sand has now turned to concrete, and that footprint is there forever. And so supporting the Women's Fund is really vital in this community.